Hello, 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 and welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Before we get started, let me first remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the use and reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is bipcot.org. We're also protected by Brandenburg v. Ohio, 1969, which ruled that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless that speech is, quote, directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action. Therefore, everything we say here on Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion is entirely, mostly, almost, sometimes hypothetical.
Even if it's not hypothetical, it's not likely to incite such action, so it still falls under.
Yeah.
That's right. Nobody listens to us anyway, so it's
Yeah,
not
they're
like
like-
nobody's
Yeah.
If you're letting us incite you, you are on the wrong course to begin with.
Yeah. You really need to rethink your life choices if you're letting us incite you.
I mean, I'm perfectly happy to be the inspirational dude like Thomas Paine was. Like, he's my idol, man. But I'm just saying, but I am no Thomas Paine.
We know, Andrew.
We know, Andrew. We know.
Didn't he famously say, "Give me liberty or give me convenience"? Something along those lines, right?
Yeah, no, that's totally. I think what he said was something to that general effect.
Shrug off
give
the
me
mantle of the king and
safety.
replace him with nothing.
Yeah,
Now
give me
that speech by Patrick Henry, the "Give me liberty or give me death" speech, is one of my all-time favorite speeches in history. Like bar none. Like it's so fucking savage. I love it.
Yeah, well, those guys were really willing to be super fucking brutal. And that was a thing that carried through for a really long time, where people in American politics were really willing to just be like, no, you know what?
Eviscerate people.
Yeah, you're like, I mean, remember when the Democrats called Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War at Grand Emperor Abraham Africanus and stuff, and just tore into him, and
Mhm.
I mean, the speeches that they made for 90 to 100 years in American politics were badass. And
Yeah.
now we have to have, we can't publish Dr. Seuss because it might be hurtful.
And people
Oh my God.
on Tinder have their pronouns in their bio.
Green eggs and bullshit.
I'm still laughing about Micah wanting to change his pronouns to fee, fi, fo, fum. That's my enormous 18-year-old son, by the way. Like he's a big dude. So, yeah.
Yeah, you could roll across the Potomac in his work boots.
Seriously. Like 14 double E fucking work boots.
Yeah, they could propel small seagoing vessels. So,
Yeah.
So what size flipper would he wear? I mean, just curious.
I don't know. We can never, anytime we go snorkeling, we can never find one.
I was going to say, just take some canoe oars and tape them to his feet.
Yeah. I told him, I said he doesn't need flippers to go snorkeling. His feet are just naturally flippers by themselves.
yeah,
Fair enough.
Holy crap. That's...
Start calling him a Micah T he's a manatee, a Micah T.
He just gently drifts along.
Yeah.
So, I don't. Do we want to start on that one? Since we just hit a lull and.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, this is we're going to cover an opinion piece from the New York Times.
So brace yourselves immediately.
Yeah.
As soon as you hear opinion piece in New York Times, oh God.
Well, it's not the Washington Post. But
no, but it's not far off either.
Okay, yeah.
And this one had such an impact on me, I think the week before last.
Yeah, this is by Mr. Charlie Warzel, which is awfully close to Weasel. Charlie Warzel.
He looks like a weasel in his picture. I mean,
Let's just call him Weasel. Yeah, Charlie Weasel.
we can call him Weasel.
The op-ed is entitled "Don't Go Down the Rabbit Hole." Critical thinking, as we're taught to do it, isn't helping in the fight against misinformation.
It's the greatest.
He's throwing the baby out with the bathwater on that one. There's the baby, the sink, the hot water heater. Just throw everything out with the baby water on that one.
Every piece of copper piping in this house just went out with the bathwater on that one.
Yeah.
He actually threw the bathtub out with the bathwater, like just the whole thing.
Yeah.
And it was one of those heavy clawfoot tubs. So.
And the bathwater probably wasn't even dirty to begin with, because who gets to determine what's misinformation and what isn't? You know?
Right.
Trust the experts, Derica.
I know.
Yeah, just trust the science. But not the science from last week or the week before or 2 weeks before that, but the science now.
The science I trust is the science that I just performed in my kitchen tonight. That's the science that I fucking trust. Okay? That's chemistry, baby. The kind that makes people happy.
Yay, that is the greatest kind of chemistry.
And also may or may not contribute to, worldwide obesity.
Well, I mean, if you eat first, the munchies won't make you eat so much. But, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Yeah,
All right,
the last science Derica believed was the forced masturbation for hysteria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
prove to me
vibrator
that
prescriptions and shit. Doctors that fucking whacked you off while you were in their office. Hell yeah.
Can you prove that doesn't work?
No. No. I actually can make a pretty strong case that it does, in fact, work.
I miss.
You won't get any argument from this crowd. I mean,
I'm just saying,
we've all been in a relationship with brats, so we know it works.
Yeah, definitely.
Or are currently in a relationship with brats. I mean,
yeah.
Love you, Lindsay.
I mean, I've never gotten into that. Kevin's not into it, but I have a feeling that's the category I'd probably end up landing in. So,
yeah, definitely.
I mean, I miss old timey medicine, man. Like, can you imagine being able to go to the doctor and just being like, "Can you whack me off and then give me cocaine?" Like,
no, give me cocaine first.
Yeah, give me cocaine. Whack me off.
Your cough syrup has cocaine, cannabis, and.
Yep.
I don't fucking know, man. You got ghosts in your blood or some shit. Do cocaine about it.
Yep.
It's either that or we have to cut your arm open with this giant knife and let you bleed for a while.
Yeah, we're gonna drill a hole.
The hand crank drill. Oh, you got a headache?
Yeah.
Hold on. Wait a minute. It's just a cough.
Yeah.
Wait, whoa.
It may be that I just had too much to drink last night. It's okay. We don't need to go there yet. I mean,
that's a little huge.
Leonard, cut your leg off.
Yeah, well, sorry. I'm gonna have to amputate.
All right.
What?
All
right, let's hear this guy's retarded opinions.
Yeah. Critical thinking, as we're taught to do it, is not helping the fight against misinformation.
Well, who taught you to do it?
Dirty. I feel so dirty saying that.
Yeah.
This whole article, as you read it, sounds like something that like IngSoc would have put out. You know what I mean? Like the Ministry of Truth would have been publishing something like this.
Wait. The very first thing that you see on this article is a photo. The caption underneath the photo says, "Our attention economy allows grifters, conspiracy theorists, trolls, and savvy attention hijackers to take advantage of us and steal our focus." He literally just described the media.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Okay, to the article. For an academic, Michael Caulfield has an odd request. Stop overthinking what you see online.
No.
Mr. Caulfield, a digital literacy expert at Washington State University,
what
Vancouver.
The fuck? How do you get that job?
I want that job. The dude probably gets paid 6 figures to sit around and go, how can I confuse the masses today?
Well, I mean, Washington State University, or no, this is the other school. This is Washington. All right, my story's obsolete now.
All right, digital literacy expert.
Digital literacy expert.
Whatever the fuck that means.
Speaking of 1984,
that's the liberal arts degree of propaganda.
Gotcha.
Mr. Caulfield, a digital literacy expert at Washington State University, Vancouver, knows all too well at this very moment, more people are fighting for the opportunity to lie to you than at perhaps any other point in human history.
So he's the arbiter of truth. Is that what he's saying?
Well,
he's a fucking arbiter of truth.
Well, and on top of that, I mean, like, that's a load of horse shit. Like, are you kidding me?
Propaganda minister.
Yeah, propaganda has been around as long as humanity has. I mean, we have accounts from like ancient civilizations where they were like, you know, I mean, like the Egyptians have on their, you know, their temples and things, all these, and their tombs, all this propaganda. You know, I mean, everyone has always tried to make themselves seem like these amazing people. This is not a new thing. This is absurd.
No, it's not.
It's disingenuous.
This guy,
all right, hold on.
Digital on the propaganda side, and he's fucking telling you to stop listening to people who are fighting back against it.
No.
Okay, hold on.
Believe your overlords. They know what's best for you.
Digital literacy, as defined by Wikipedia, digital literacy refers to an individual's ability to find, evaluate, and compose clear information through writings and other social media on various digital platforms. Digital literacy is evaluated by an individual's grammar, composition, typing skills, and ability to produce text, image, audio, and designs using technology.
So literally,
nothing to do with this podcast. I mean,
because we don't edit anything.
We all do this for fucking fun. I mean,
right?
Like, this is what we do in our spare time.
Do you even meme, bro?
Yeah,
just like that is essentially what. Man, can I go back to college and get a digital literacy degree so that I can like be like, oh, I'm not just using the work computer.
Andrew.
Then I
do
can
you honestly believe that you would survive college at this point?
Oh, I definitely freaking. Are you kidding me? Not only am I'm a vet and an anarchist. Can you imagine me?
You're a straight white male with a beard. That's into guns. That is an anarchist and a military veteran.
And a veteran.
Jesus, Andrew, could you get any more toxic? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
You literally can't drink Coca-Cola at this point.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't like Coke anyway, so it's
at
least not that kind of Coke.
All right. Article, misinformation rides the greased algorithmic rails of powerful social media platforms and travels at velocities and in volumes that make it nearly impossible to stop.
I mean, that's technically a true statement.
Can't stop the signal.
That alone makes information warfare an unfair fight for the average internet user.
Now, that's because the average internet user doesn't have the fucking required tools to fight an intellectual battle.
They not only that, but they don't have a digital literacy expert to fall back on.
We all need a digital literacy expert on speed dial.
Yes.
So we can make sure that they can vet the information for us.
Jesus, that is the most made-up
what you're saying,
thing I've ever
what you're
heard.
saying is the left can't digital literacy expert?
The left isn't digitally literate.
All right.
God, they're such Poindexters. They have to fucking make a college degree to learn how to meme.
Yeah, I know. Jesus, what the hell? Like all I can think of is that scene in Ricky Bobby.
Well, that's second nature for us.
That's because they do memes by committee.
Yeah, right.
Right. We're all individual memers.
Right.
They have to have it approved and run through the bureaucracy.
And that's why we put out the fucking gold.
Yeah,
That's
but I mean,
because we also have a sense of fucking humor.
All I can think of is that scene in Ricky Bobby with everything that he said that was cool, you just got rid of it. You just killed it.
You just damn it, Ricky. All right. Makes information warfare an unfair fight for the average internet user.
All's fair in love and war, man.
We'll circle back to that one.
Yeah.
But
how
Mr.
do we get from there to stop using critical thinking, though? That's what I'd like to know.
We're gonna
stop
Jason
interrupting.
Jason is playing the White House press secretary right now. We're gonna circle back.
We're gonna circle back.
We're gonna circle
back. Circle back.
But Mr. Caulfield argues that the deck is stacked even further against us. That the way we're taught from a young age to evaluate and think critically about information is fundamentally flawed and out of step with the chaos of the current internet.
Okay, but most people are not taught how to fucking think.
They're not taught at all.
Flies in the face of public diseducation. I mean,
yeah.
If kids were taught critical thinking in school, Derica would not have needed to write her book.
Well, yeah, I mean and that's like I went to a private school for what, like a year and a half of my high school, and one of the classes that I had that half a year was called Aristotelian Logic 101. It was an Aristotelian logic class. When I transferred from the private school to a public school, I literally had the guidance counselor look at that and go, "What even is that?" And look at me and
why
that hurts my brain.
And that's why you're a guidance counselor.
Yeah,
pretty much.
You know who would love this guy is Aristotle. Right? It's the mark of an educated mind, be able to entertain an idea without accepting it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's putting on his sandals. He's climbing out of the cave. He's gonna come and he's ready to box this guy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you son of
Right, okay, here. Okay.
Time machine death match.
Somebody call Bill and Ted right now.
We need an epic rap battle of history. Do an episode on this guy versus Aristotle.
Just Aristotle tearing him apart.
Oh, fuck yeah, I will.
All right. Quote, we're taught that in order to protect ourselves from bad information, we need to deeply engage with the stuff that washes up in front of us. Mr. Caulfield told me recently. He suggests that the dominant mode of media literacy, if kids get taught any at all, is that, quote, you get imperfect information and then using reasoning to fix that somehow. But in reality, that strategy can completely backfire. In other words, resist the lure of rabbit holes in part by reimagining media literacy for the internet hellscape we occupy.
So in other words, essentially, you just believe whatever you find.
But...
You don't look into it at all. You just believe whatever you're told, and everything is going to be okay.
I'm getting this feeling that
he's saying is reject everything that you see and only trust the experts. I have a feeling that's where he's
going with this. Is you should only trust the experts.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say
the media.
Yeah, I think what he's saying is you need to just believe the Facebook fact checkers at all times and never question any of it. Never question anything.
Meanwhile, the Facebook fact checkers are like the fucking monkey that they took half of Zuckerberg's DNA from. You know?
I submitted that complaint about the Facebook fact checkers for taking one of my posts down, and I said it's like all of your fact checkers are a bunch of overtired, hungry, angry toddlers, and they're just like, no, it's not true.
Yeah.
And this is
okay. It is often counterproductive to engage directly with content from an unknown source.
Counterproductive for who?
Exactly.
Whose productivity are we talking about here?
Yeah.
That's the fucking question. And you know how I knew that? Because I'm a fucking critical thinker.
You know who would really have liked this guy's article?
Aristotle?
Joseph Goebbels.
Oh,
Goebbels.
Goebbels would have been a big fan.
Yeah.
Goebbels is eating popcorn.
Yeah,
man. That.
He's holding up a foam number one finger.
Yeah. You go, friend. This is the greatest.
Chairman Mao's taking notes.
It's crazy that somebody who's obviously spent so much time in the education system can actually believe that children are being taught critical thinking.
Mm-hmm. Now here's the thing. Okay, this last sentence of this last paragraph. just it's counterproductive to his point.
Mm.
I use that critical thinking to deduce that.
Yeah.
Okay, it's often counterproductive to engage directly with content from an unknown source, and people can be led astray by false information. Influenced by the research of Sam Weinberg, a professor at Stanford, and Sarah McGrew, an assistant professor at the University of Maryland, Mr. Caulfield argued that the best way to learn about a source of information is to leave it and look elsewhere. A concept called lateral reading.
Wait, to learn about a source?
To learn about a source of information is to leave it and look elsewhere.
No. That's not how you learn about a source, for fuck's sake. That's how you learn about like ideas and information is you look it up in, several different places and you compile.
He elaborates.
I was saying, no. This next bit is going to melt your brains.
You want to take it?
Oh, I will happily take it. So
go ahead.
He goes, for instance, imagine you were to visit Stormfront, a white supremacist message board, to try and understand racist claims in order to debunk them. Quote, even if you see through the horrible rhetoric, at the end of the day, you give that place however many minutes of your time, Mr. Caulfield said. Even with good intentions, you run the risk of misunderstanding something because Stormfront users are way better at propaganda than you. You won't get less racist reading Stormfront critically, but you might be overloaded by information and overwhelmed. He's literally saying, don't even look at any counterpoints. Don't even look at anything that disagrees with you.
It'll make your brain hurt. Just watch your TV.
Yeah, don't even give them any minutes of your time. Are you?
Did this guy? I'm serious. I wonder
if
this guy.
Not that we're saying that like white supremacy needs more fucking critical
no,
thinking.
Not by any stretch of the imagination. But like, still,
insert any fucking source for where he said that.
Right.
That's what we're talking about.
So all right, we got a Goebbels line, or not? It's not a Goebbels line, but it's a Goebbels idea coming up. Our current information crisis, Mr. Caulfield argues, is a quote attention crisis. Right. The goal of disinformation is to capture attention, and critical thinking is deep attention, he wrote in 2018. People learn to think critically by focusing on something and contemplating it deeply, to follow the information's logic and the inconsistencies. The goal of disinformation is to capture attention. What does the media do?
Yeah, that's all the media does.
Yeah, like maybe
sensationalization sells.
They don't want you. What he's saying is they don't want you thinking too hard about the stuff that they're labeling misinformation. Mm-hmm. And you know why? Because it could expose them for the fucking liars they are.
Oh, dude.
Right.
It gets.
Oh, it does. Oh god, this one does. It gets. Oh my god.
We decided last episode if we ever do merch, that'll be the first shirt. It gets better.
But wait, it gets better.
Yeah.
The natural human mindset is a liability in an attention economy. It allows grifters, conspiracy theorists, trolls, and savvy attention hijackers to take advantage of us and steal our focus.
I mean, quote, like you?
Quote, whatever you give your attention to a bad actor, you allow them to steal your attention for better treatment of an issue and give them an opportunity to warp your perspective, Mr. Caulfield wrote.
So make sure you're not using critical thinking. Is that his fucking conclusion?
His argument here. His argument here is don't even look at anything with which you may disagree, or more importantly, I may disagree.
Yeah.
Right.
And don't even look at it. Don't give it any attention. Don't ever evaluate it. Don't ever think critically about it, because if you do, then
you
you'll
might
just
learn something that I didn't want you to learn.
Yeah, then you'll agree with it.
Like put on your blinders, put your muzzle into the treat bag, and just keep plowing forward.
Yeah, keep producing tax cattle. Don't fucking waste your mental energy on, thinking. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, that's.
They wouldn't want anybody to actually be an individual, because that would just be crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we can't have
I mean,
that.
like in college, my professors really, like one of my professors especially, really pushed for us to read the I forget his name, the historian that's a Holocaust denier, and read his books, because he's like, you need to understand how bad they are. You need to understand how to evaluate this stuff and go, but you're making things up. You have no sources. You're literally trying to put people places that they weren't ever,
Yeah.
and try to put words in their mouths that they never said. And you're like, he pushed, like, you have to read the shit that's wrong in order to understand why it's wrong. You can't.
It's like
just
an immune
ignore
system
it.
for your mind.
See,
If
and
you
this-
fucking sanitize everything and never expose yourself to germs, your immune system fucking shrivels up and dies.
Yeah,
And it's not good for anything.
Yeah, I'm going to argue right now this guy doesn't understand critical thinking at all.
No, he doesn't.
Because he doesn't understand economics either.
Yeah.
And everything.
He's a digital literacy expert. How would he understand any of those things?
Everything is economics, right? Right. You're you know, yeah.
Everything is economics, and all rights are property rights.
Yeah. So, but he says one way to combat this dynamic is to change how we teach media literacy. Internet users need to learn that our attention is a scarce commodity, and that it's to be spent wisely.
Okay,
That's
so
why they sensationalize everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds to me kind of like he's trying to build a fucking industry around his own useless fucking college degree.
That's why every YouTube channel does fucking clickbait. That's why alternative media exists. That's why the news sensationalizes everything. That's why, you know, if it bleeds, it leads on the media.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah,
right? Sex sells. That's why advertising gives you the FOMO, the fear of missing out. They use pretty women. They put their fucking tits out there to get you to pay attention, because attention is a scarce commodity. You only have
tits,
so
and
many...
tits really do get attention. That picture of me upside down on my inversion table was like my most favorite picture ever.
Those memes were good though.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is he's saying shit that like advertisers have known for what, 50 years?
Oh, at least longer. Way longer. Yeah.
Right.
Well, like, and media companies go all the way back to radio, or even early print media. What do you think all of that was? It was all attention grabbing just to get you to spend your time on what they're doing.
Well, look at when the way you even get taught, if you ever take any classes on like how to compose like a novel or compose, like a book, it always talks about how you have to grab attention right away to get people to read the rest of the book. Like, this is, all the way back to as long as print has existed, all the way back to, this has been stuff that everyone has always known, that people will only pay attention to something as long as they find it interesting. So therefore, you make it as interesting as you possibly can.
This is like the entirety of human history. The Bible's first fucking line is an attention grabber, right?
In the beginning was the word.
That's
the first line of the Bible.
Yeah, or in the beginning there was darkness, or whatever version you're fucking reading. Yeah,
well, it's the Genesis 1:1 is in the beginning was the word. That is the very first line. Is in the beginning was the word. So, like, every holy book starts out that way, with like major attention grab. Every fucking history textbook starts out that way, with major attention grabbing, and like the covers are all like, scenes of battle and warfare and stuff to grab your attention, so that you do that.
Right.
This is
biology books have fucking like
what is a commercial,
sharks
right?
With their
what is a commercial on TV?
Yeah,
right.
It's
a highlight. It's an attention. So people go, oh, hey, I'm gonna go watch that. It's the same with like,
or it's trying to make you remember a product. So the next time you need something like that, you remember their brand name.
Because it grabs your attention, and you remember like that stupid little Geico lizard.
Yeah.
Well, like that's gonna be on somebody's tombstone.
Let's look back a ways. Let's go back to the Budweiser frogs. That was 20 plus years ago.
Yep.
One of my favorite attention grabbers was Mayhem.
I love those commercials.
I'm your blind spot. No, you're good. Change the lights.
I love the one where he's a raccoon in the attic. Holy
Yes.
shit, that one fucking
Oh,
I'm having the time of my life.
yeah.
not
He's
not
laying
to
there
get
playing with insulation.
not to get too far off course, but there's an article out of Florida family, a husband and wife. They were driving back to DC. A couch falls off the back of the truck in front of them. They swerve to miss the couch, hit the median, flip, end up in the hospital. Florida Highway Patrol meets him in the hospital, gives him a ticket for reckless driving.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Well, no, sorry, not reckless drive, but for not maintaining their lane. Gave him a $166 ticket for avoiding the couch. There's your mayhem. There's your mayhem for you.
So for taking an evasive action to, oh my fucking god.
Yeah.
But hey, don't think too hard about this.
That's true. You can't think too hard.
Don't think too hard, because if you do, then you're giving attention to things that
because if you
attention to. It's.
I should have
there's
stopped thinking and just switched my insurance because of the Mayhem commercial.
There's a point, like where there's a point where you are obsessing. Like people who go so far out of their way to argue with flat earthers endlessly, day in, day out. There's a point where it's become an attention vampire and an energy vampire, and you just need to stop and just let.
And that's why we block those people.
Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah.
What are the steps of critical thinking?
Well, it depends on which type of reasoning you're using. But in the book, I laid out the steps according to deductive reasoning. Andrew has a copy right behind him.
I do. I have. I
Yeah.
in fact have.
Andrew has notes and I don't, so he can go through the steps.
I could. Let's see if I can find them. I've actually never looked at your book. I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay.
Lindsay went through it. Like I said, I actually went through logic classes in school,
Right.
So I didn't.
That's why I'm interested to hear your opinion on it, Andrew.
I know, but I haven't.
So okay, for paraphrasing, right? Like you find something, you gather the necessary information.
Right. The first step is defining the question, really.
Yeah, defining the question.
Right.
Well, we're assuming what probably deductive reasoning is what we're talking about, right? We're talking about deductive reasoning, where you're going to say, okay, here's the premise, and then based on that, you then set up tests for that.
Right. You gather data and you set up tests and you run your data through it and
and that's
and then come to your own conclusion on it, right?
Right. And then you test your conclusion. You can test your conclusion against other people's conclusions and other methodologies.
And that's specifically what he's saying not to do.
That's what he said. That's what he's saying not to do, right?
Yes.
Right. In 2016, Mr. Caulfield met Mr. Weinberg, who suggested modeling the process after the way professional fact checkers assess information. Mr. Caulfield refined the practice into 4 simple principles. Stop. Investigate the source. Find better coverage. Trace claims, quotes, a media to the original context, otherwise known as SIFT.
And then?
That's what he's saying to do.
No, that's where he stops?
That's where he stops.
He stops there.
So he's saying go to the approved sources and stop there and just accept their conclusion.
Yes.
Yep. That's not critical thinking.
No, it's not.
Well, that's exactly what he's saying against.
Yeah,
that's what he's saying is don't critical think.
Yeah.
Just find an approved source and believe that source.
How is this not like the exact kind of thing? The funny thing is increasingly I'm going, man, maybe McCarthy was right. But
Sherry was right.
Yeah, oh my God. I mean, but it's increasingly how does this not sound like exactly the kind of thing that a political officer would have advocated for in the Soviet Union? This is exactly what they would have said. No, don't just look at the state approved sources, look at the approved sources, and look at what they say, and that's what you should believe.
This is super dystopian. This is like Fahrenheit 451 shit.
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely. It's
Fahrenheit 451 and definitely 1984.
Well, and Animal Farm. I mean, Squealer would be a big fan of this guy.
Yeah.
You're don't question anything. We all know
it's almost like if you don't know history and you're not literate to
there's
actual literature.
there are some Intel Pro and some co-Intel Pro that are looking at this and going, please, just believe that.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I know. It would make their job so much easier.
Yeah, the U.S. Intel community is pretty much masturbating with this article right now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They're shooting hearts and minds all over the place.
Yeah.
All right. Do we want to go in the next part? It just it's from here on. It goes on to attacking Robert F. Kennedy Jr. about an Instagram post and the process that he used SIFT.
The long and short of it is, though, essentially, don't believe this guy. His opinion is trash.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and
let's
if you think
let's
something's
skip
worthy
over
of investigating, investigate the shit out of it.
Yeah,
then think about it.
The RFK section is basically just him reiterating, like, and giving it an example of just how terrible it really is. Like, he basically says, like, oh, don't this one person who assassinated a long time ago. Yeah, don't believe him on something unrelated to basically anything important about him.
Yeah,
and that's his example.
We'll skip over that. The SIFT method and instructional teaching unit, about 6 hours of classwork that accompanies it, has been picked up by dozens of universities across the country and in some Canadian high schools.
What a shock!
What a shock! What is potentially revolutionary about SIFT is that it focuses on making quick judgments.
But you can't formulate anything.
A SIFT fact check can and should take just 30, 60, or 90 seconds to evaluate a piece of content.
What? No.
That is
No! This is exact opposite of what you should be doing.
Hold on. The 4 steps are based on the premise that you often make a better decision with less information than you do with more.
No.
I am on a whim. I am going to go and apply for this $20,000 credit limit because what could possibly fucking go wrong?
Yeah, you know what? I've made this decision based off of a cursory glance at this. So, like, this is literally
how Andrew ended up marrying a stripper.
Pretty damn close. Yeah, like I just snap judgment like. Boobies. I like boobies. Like this is.
I would argue that what this guy is advocating for is the exact fucking problem with humanity currently.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. This is exactly what all of the people that are constantly sharing news articles and everything on social media are the exact problem, because they are the ones that are looking at the headline, not reading the article, not cross-referencing the article. And then they go, oh, well, this article says Joe Biden is in cognitive decline. Granted, if you look at everything, he probably is. But these are the ones that are just sharing it because that's what the headline says. Joe Biden's in cognitive decline. Well, did you read the article?
That's right.
Well,
no. There's another line coming up. Tirika, I'm sorry. The 4 steps are based on the premise that you often make better decisions with less information than you do with more. Also, spending 15 minutes to determine a single fact in order to decipher a tweet or piece of news coming from a source you've never seen before will often leave you more confused than you were before. Quote, the question we want students asking is this a good source for this purpose, or could I find something better relatively quickly?
Oh my!
Hold on. I've seen in the classroom where a student finds a great answer in 3 minutes, but then keeps going and ends up being won over by bad information.
In a classroom.
Yeah.
But I mean, oh my god, like it.
Wait, hold on. One more line, and then you guys can explode. SIFT has its limits though. It's designed for casual news consumers, not experts or those attempting to do deep research.
Everybody should be doing deep research.
That's what I was just going to say. Nobody should be consuming this shit casually.
No, if it's important enough that you're spending your time glancing through everything and you go, oh, that's kind of important, I should share that out.
Yeah, if you
maybe you should do a little bit more. Yeah, it's good to have a little more information on it.
You know, let's go to Andrew's conspiracy corner for a moment. And
but he said that's bad.
Yeah. Let's go to Andrew's conspiracy corner, and I'm going to point out the tie-in between this and the I need trigger warnings, I need safe spaces, cancel culture, all of that stuff, and the increasing push towards the Great Reset and Cloward Priven, and all of a sudden
It's
you're like,
almost-
oh, it's they're trying to push everybody to just accept whatever they're told and to actually view doing research and evaluating information yourself as a vice and
As a
not
negative.
a
You gotta remember, in a true collective, dissenters are dangerous.
Right. It's almost like they want you to be easy to manipulate or something.
Has anybody else watched the M. Night Shyamalan movie, The Village?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I fucking hate
just-
M. Night Shyamalan movies, but yes,
But-
I've seen it.
But so like look at that situation in the context of what he's talking about, and consider that it's the exact same thing that the people who are running the village were saying. Don't question, don't go out there, don't go out to the woods that are scary, and you're just going to, you're going to die, you're just going to be attacked and everything else. And don't question that, because if you question that, you put us all at risk.
Yep.
This is exactly that.
It's like the monkeys pulling the other monkey off the ladder so they don't get fucking squirted with water.
Yeah. Even though the original monkey has never been squirted with water.
None of the monkeys that are left have ever actually been squirted with water. They just trust it because don't think about it. Don't
because
question.
That's how it's always been done.
That's just the way that it is.
Hold on.
Andrew, you've read those books, the Agenda 21 books by Glenn Beck.
Yep.
It's the same shit.
Mhm.
It's the same shit. I don't know if you two, Derek and Jason, I don't know if you guys ever read those books, but they're really good.
I've read some of Glenn Beck's stuff, and I was never as big a fan of him as Kevin, but the dude does his fucking research, and there are times when he's known shit way before everybody else fucking knew it. So, he's doing something.
Yeah, he's doing something right over there. I mean, he's obviously a massive statist and whatnot, but he at least seems to have the ability to, do everything that this article that we're going through right now tells you not to do.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so SIFT has limits designed for casual news consumers. Okay. A reporter working on an investigative story or trying to synthesize complex information will have to go deep. But for someone just trying to figure out a basic fact, it's helpful to not get bogged down. Quote,
what they're saying is facts are only for the experts. Stay in the
exactly.
lane.
There are, as a historian myself, and knowing lots of other like actual trained historians, I guarantee you that there are plenty of people in my field who are sobbing at even the idea of this article right now.
Yeah.
Like just absolutely sobbing.
Quote, we've been trained to think that Googling or just checking one resource we trust is almost like cheating, he said. But, quote, but when people search Google, the best result may not always be first, but good information is usually near the top. Often you see a pattern in the links of a consensus that has been formed. That has been formed.
No,
but deeper
into how facts work.
But deeper into the process, it often gets weirder. It is important to know when to stop.
When I was what I was just talking about with the old-timey doctors, the consensus was that humors were a thing, and you have too much black bile, or you have too much blood, or was a consensus. It was a consensus that coronavirus was going to just slaughter everybody indiscriminately, and we're going to have 1 million plus dead in the United States alone. It was consensus that the germ theory was wrong at one point, that that isn't how that isn't how you get sick, it's not germs.
There was a time in Europe where there was a consensus that if a woman didn't scream loudly enough during childbirth, that she was a fucking witch and would be burned at the stake because she had found a way to bypass her penance for original sin. That was a fucking consensus.
Oh,
there has been an awful lot of consensi. consensuses, consensus. I don't know, but
Yeah.
there's been an awful lot of those over the millennia that are very, very wrong.
Yeah.
And
almost all of them, really.
Yeah, in general. I mean, and that's the thing is that is how science works. Science goes, well, nothing is ever unchallengeable. Nothing is ever just true because everybody believes it. Always ask, well, but is that true?
That's
because
real science, though. Not that's not like Fauci science.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And if you really, there was this whole period during human history known as the Dark Ages, where the consensus was, if you didn't believe that everything happened because God willed it, the consensus was, that's heresy and you should die.
Yeah.
Well, the Dark Ages may not actually have existed entirely, but yeah, I see. But
I mean, there were periods of time where there were people from the Vatican, going all over Europe, killing people.
Oh, there's a huge span of time where the Inquisitions were a thing. Like, everybody thinks of the Spanish Inquisition, which you didn't expect me to mention. Haha, because nobody expects Spanish Inquisition. But there were actually a ton of Inquisitions over the course of millennia because
the Vatican Inquisition, of the Roman Catholic Church.
Well, you guys remember AOC? She said it was more important to be morally right than factually correct.
And that's exactly what this is saying. It's more important to agree with the majority and to accept what the majority believes.
By the way, but that's what they see as morality. That's a virtue signal.
I mean, that's literally what this is saying. In no uncertain terms, it is better to be on the side of the majority than it is to question what is established as acceptable fact.
Established dogma.
Yes, that's what they said. But when people search Google, dogma. The best result, not the correct result, the best result may not always be first, but the good information is usually near the top. Often you see a pattern.
For who?
Often you see a pattern in the links of a consensus that has been formed, but deeper into the process, it often gets weirder. It is important to know when to stop.
Yeah.
No, you should never stop asking questions and doing research on something you're interested in. You should never give up. I mean,
and you should investigate your sources themselves too, because like I put that in my book, is you need to also look into and understand the motivations of the source. Like these government scientists, what's their fucking motivation? Their motivation is their fucking paycheck and the next step up in their career.
It was consensus, and it was the majority opinion that cigarettes did not cause cancer for a very long time.
It was a consensus for a long time that some people with a lot of melanin in their skin were not actually human beings.
Yeah. Or we're not capable, at the very least, we're not capable of achieving the same things as people with less melanin. Like, this was the thing.
Consensus for a long time that women had smaller brains and therefore were less intelligent.
That's you're just a woman. You're just a woman with a small brain, a brain half the size of a man. It's science.
Anchorman.
All right.
Until they discover that the denser concentration of bones equal ability to store information.
Well, there was a consensus for a very long time that cephalopods were not intelligent because they didn't have a central nervous system. And a cuttlefish,
cephalopod
all hail the cephalopod overlords, because a cuttlefish just passed a cognitive test designed for human toddlers.
Nice.
All right.
So
the article takes a turn here, and it's an important turn. Christina Landum, an assistant political science professor at the University of Nevada, Reno, has seen the damage firsthand. While teaching an introductory class as a PhD student in 2015, she noticed her students had trouble vetting sources and distinguishing credible news from untrustworthy information. During one of her research assignments on the 2016 presidential race, multiple students cited a debunked claim that satirical website claiming that Ben Carson, a candidate that year, had been endorsed by the Ku Klux Klan. Quotes. Carson's black, you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. That's why
Yeah.
I laughed.
Come on now.
For anybody who
like,
doesn't know, Ben Carson's black.
Okay.
That's clearly satire.
Yeah. Quote. Some of these students had never had somebody even talk to them about checking sources or looking for fake news. It was just uncritical acceptance if it fit the narrative in their head, or a complete rejection if it didn't.
So,
But isn't that what this guy's
out,
saying to do?
Yeah, he's saying exactly not to do that.
Hold on. Miss Landon started teaching SIFT-based media literacy unit in her political science classes because of the method's practical application. The unit is short, only 2 weeks long. Her students latched onto quick tricks like how to hover over a Twitter handle and see if the account looks legitimate or is a parody account or an impersonation. They learned how to reverse image search using Google to check if a photo had been doctored or if similar photos had been published by trusted news outlets. Students were taught to identify claims in Facebook or Instagram posts and, with a few searches, decide, even if they were unsure of the veracity, whether the account seemed to be trustworthy guide or if they should look elsewhere.
Isn't that literally what this guy is saying not to do?
Yeah.
Doesn't that sound almost like a critical thinking step?
Yeah.
Right.
Like the gathering,
gathering
information.
Yeah.
Gathering information.
I want to point out something that is
like
very
step
interesting.
2.
Right.
You can't even start investigating until you have like a data set to investigate.
Thinking back to like my middle school and early high school years, which was when the internet was really becoming more mainstream. I can remember my teachers constantly saying, don't trust any website as a source that ends in a .com. Only trust .org and .gov. It's like, no.
Wow.
Wow. The goal isn't to make political judgments or to talk students out of a particular point of view. Yeah. But to try and get them to understand the context of a source of information and to make decisions about its credibility. The course is not precise about overly academic sources either. Quote, the students are confused when I tell them to try and trace something down with a quick Wikipedia search because they've been told not to do it, she said. Quote, not for research papers, but if you're trying to find out if a site is legitimate or if somebody has a history as a conspiracy theorist and you show them how to follow a page's citation, it's quick and effective, which means it's more likely to be used.
Like the only thing Wikipedia is good for is following the linked sources at the bottom.
Yeah,
of
the citations. Yeah, because it's not vetted. It's not. I mean, and the funny
literally
thing is,
anybody could fucking put anything on Wikipedia.
So, well, and the funny thing is, so from the perspective of somebody who who knows a lot of academics and interacts with them and stuff, what's interesting is that a lot of academics will, if it's a subject that they are not terribly familiar with, start at Wikipedia because it's a very easy way to find crowdsourced information and then go from there. It's a very good jumping off point to then do in-depth research from, which is how it should be viewed. Is, hey, this is where I'm going to start.
Right. Wikipedia is not a source, really. Wikipedia is like a source aggregator.
Yeah. And that's what a wiki is supposed to be, right? A wiki is supposed to be basically crowdsourced information where people can aggregate together. It aggregates all of these different people who know, like maybe one guy knows a book that's out there that talks about something specific, and he's able to then throw that information into the wiki that otherwise people would never have access to because the book's been out of print for 100 years. Right. That's an important thing, but you don't base your entire ideas of something around what the Wikipedia page itself says.
Well, you do if they're telling you, it should only take 20 to 60 seconds.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Yeah, and it's like, and I mean, I've looked at certain Wikipedia articles and then gone to the links, because it's linked down below the, their sources, and then realized that the source actually doesn't while it says what the Wikipedia thing is talking about, the
They
article
took
is
it out of
actually about
context.
something
They
else. Yes.
misinterpreted it. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
So-
important to like, and that's things that you should be teaching kids to take the time to evaluate. Don't go, hey, 90 seconds and you should understand whether this is true or not. No, you need to take the time. You need to look, you need to research, and you should be. And like, it's horrifying to me that universities are teaching kids to not be curious.
I know.
Yeah, you
I
can't.
know.
You
This
can't
is
put
infiltrating the education system.
Yeah, you can't put a stopwatch on knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get to an age where, oh no, I know things. I know everything. I did
So
90 seconds of looking at this. So
not only are they not teaching your children actual critical thinking skills, they are misinforming them about what critical thinking is and how it should be done.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you need to buy my book.
Well, like with everything else, they're watering down the idea.
Yeah. Well, watering it down and perverting the fucking hell out of it.
Well, yeah,
I mean, I can focused on one little tiny.
Okay, well, they're perverting the definition of it, right? I mean, just like they've done with racist, sexist, homophobic, blah 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 blah.
Well,
and
this is exactly the thing that Orwell predicted when he talked about newspeak in 1984, where he talked about this idea that you just willy-nilly alter the definitions of words and alter what they mean, and you create words that are meaningless.
We talked about before, when you change the definition of words, when you change a language, you change the culture.
Yep.
Right. And
go along with that, talking about changing the definition of words, think about the hotly debated word regulated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
I mean, you can point to that as a perfect example.
Well, yeah, and if you don't think that language is incredibly powerful, there is a very, very good paper out there that I'm sure nobody's actually going to read, but I have, about language and the way that it actually causes you to think differently. Mm-hmm. And what it talks about is the Aborigines, specifically of Australia. And the Aborigines do not have words for in front of, behind, to the left of, to the right of. They don't have those words. What they talk about is something is to the north of, to the south of, to the east, to the west. That's how they describe everything. Those are the words. And so
they're always aware of the cardinal directions, and they're less likely to get lost in like dead reckoning as part of their culture because of that.
Right. Their minds always are aware of which way is north, and therefore the rest of the cardinal directions, because they actually can't talk if they don't know.
Yeah, they can't give directions if they don't know.
Yeah, they can't describe things. Like, they can't say, oh, the red car next to the blue car, because they don't have that word. It's, well, the red car to the east of the blue car. Well, if I don't know which direction is east, I can't describe it that way. Mm-hmm. So I have to know. And they are inherently 80% better. I think it's like 80% or something in that general effect, better at directions without reference points, like conventional reference points, than regular like English speakers are.
Like at navigation and
stuff.
Yeah,
because they have to know in order to speak. Language alters the way you think.
Yep. And they're altering the language.
Yeah, and they're trying to change the language and make critical thinking be the exact opposite of critical thinking. Yep. It's like when they changed the word literally and made it mean things that aren't literal.
Yeah. Yeah.
They create words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the fucking word guesstimate. So help me. Every time I hear that word, I want to hit somebody with an axe.
So this topic is really pushing all my fucking buttons. You guys know how I feel about critical thinking. You know how I feel about grammar and the use of language. This shit is just really pissing me off.
All right, okay. One more paragraph.
Hang on.
And
Andrew
I'm
brings
mad
up
even
the word
though the edibles
guesstimate.
are kicking in.
Andrew brings up the word guesstimate. You realize that is a largely Midwestern term, right?
I know
I've heard it everywhere.
Yeah, it's
I've heard it in other places, but I've heard it the most up here.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
it's redundant because estimate is a fucking guess to begin with.
Yeah, I've had people try and justify it by being like, well, but it's about guessing when you don't have all the information. Yeah, there's a word for that.
Estimate?
It's
estimation.
Yeah. Irregardless.
Oh, use the term
That was
Disregarding
that was such
regardless?
perfect timing because you all three reacted.
Oh,
Oh, all right. Oh. Yes, I know it's not a. I know.
it pisses me off. Makes me mad.
It's a good thing we're not all in person because I'm pretty sure all three of us would have just collectively strangled Jason.
Yeah. Slap.
Derica is steaming. You can see it.
Rolled up a newspaper. Just no.
Bad,
No.
Jason. Bad. All right. That's a conversation for another time. All right. The goal of SIFT is to be the arbitrary. The goal of SIFT isn't to be the arbiter of truth, but to instill a reflex that asks if something is worth one's time and attention, and to turn away if it's not.
Oh, so the trigger warning, blah blah. I just
Of this whole op-ed, it has not been worth our time. Unless you like to laugh because we did that. Because
but this is the direction that our culture is headed, and that's so fucking scary.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I was saying is it like this is a setup, right? This is exactly what I would expect if your strategy is to get a really dumb sheep populace that is willing to do things that are detrimental to itself.
Well,
but benefit
it's been the long. This has been the long game since the public indoctrination system really became a full scale thing.
Well, yeah, Cloward Piven was written in what, 67 or something like that? 65, 67, something like that. So
yeah,
right, but I mean, this has all been in the works, and they've been working on this hardcore since the early 1900s.
Well, yeah.
Since the compulsory education.
When did Rules for Radicals come out?
Late 70s. Is that?
Sounds. No, I would think mid 70s? I don't know. Hey, we have a compendium of all human knowledge sitting in our hands.
According to Wikipedia, it came out in 71.
If only we had the internet.
Okay. Yep, 71.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it came out, right around the time that I would absolutely expect it to have come out.
So, all right. The goal of SIFT isn't to be the arbiter of truth, but to instill a reflex that asks if something is worth one's time and attention and to turn away if not. Because of the method is less interested in political judgment, Ms. Caulfield and Mr. Latham noticed, students across the political spectrum are more likely to embrace it. By the end of the 2-week course, Ms. Latham said that students are better at finding primary sources for research papers.
This is like ideological police tape. Nothing to see here, folks. Move on.
Yes.
This going back to what I said before about when I was in school. This is the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, trust this site, not that site.
Yeah. That's what it is. It's almost like trying to instill through reflex a person's acceptance of what they call qualified sources
it's not just that they want you to trust one website over another. They don't even want you to look at the one that
there
they
used
tell
to be
you
a
not to
word.
trust.
There used to be a word that we had in the English language for that would get used for what you were doing when you caused somebody through mental manipulation to reflexively do a thing that you wanted them to. We used to call it brainwashing, and now that's a word that they also took away. Indoctrination. They look at the attitude, right, of the American public at the beginning of World War II towards the Nazis and towards the Japanese, especially the Japanese, actually, with the attitude that they're these fanatics. They don't think about what they're doing or question why they should do that thing and everything. And the funny thing about it is that the Japanese weren't exhibiting any massively different tendencies than the American public. It was just, turned to 11. But it was the same thing. But it was like, that was a thing that we looked at and we went, oh my God, they're being brainwashed. They're brainwashed and fanatics, and they're not questioning things, and they're just buying whatever the government tells them, whatever their culture says, that's what it is. And they never bother to question. And that was a thing that we used to have a problem with back then. And we used to look down on. And now all of the sudden we have academics saying that, oh, but this is how you teach the next generation.
Yes.
Excuse me.
But then again, those same Americans that would, look down on the Japanese for that also said, oh, it's absolutely acceptable for us to kidnap and inter all of these Japanese citizens of America, just because they happen to have Japanese ancestry.
Yeah.
But
Then
we don't believe what
like,
our government says.
Yeah. The natural human mindset is a liability in an attention economy.
Don't pretend to care about the fucking economy that you don't know anything
Right?
about.
All right. Are we done with this one?
Yeah.
I think so.
I think
we've successfully ripped this apart.
I mean, like, I could probably bitch about this for the next 3 days straight without sleeping. But yeah, we'll be done with it for now. If you want to know how to get your kids started on actual critical thinking skills, if you just don't know where to start, my book's a good place to start. It's just the beginning. It gives you the first couple foundation blocks.
Linked in the description.
Yeah.
And it will push you down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. Christopher knows his kids have gone through it.
Oh.
Yep. My youngest will be starting it soon.
Cool.
All right, here's a, I don't know if it's a rabbit hole. They probably ate the rabbit. Venezuela to introduce 1 million bolvair bill as inflation persists.
A 1 million bolvair bill.
Yes.
To be fair, rabbit is delicious.
Well, I mean, they already ate the zoo animals, so.
Yeah, they ate the tigers and everything. I mean, I am curious
so
what a
they
tiger
think
tastes
that
like. But...
a piece of paper that says a million monies is going to
a million pieces of
you know what this reminds, Venezuela constantly reminds me of is Rick and Morty when he destroys the economy of the empire, when he just changes the 1 to a 0 in the computer.
Yeah.
But our monies went from being worth 1 of itself to being worth none of itself. And it just throws it into chaos. That's what's going on here. This is Venezuela.
It doesn't, not even Venezuela. Look at that, and then you look at what's going on in the U.S. today, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah. Venezuela's central bank. The fact that they still have a central bank.
They don't have anything of any value down there. How the fuck do they still have anything?
They still have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of oil.
Yeah, they have
because controllable people are still of value to the central bank always.
Yeah.
Venezuela's central bank said on Friday that it would introduce a banknote worth 1 million bolivars beginning next week, as years of insistent hyperinflation continue to batter the value of the crisis-stricken South American country's currency. The banknote will be worth just 52 U.S. cents at the current official exchange rate.
Oh my gosh.
Holy shit.
It's cheaper to buy Venezuelan $1 million Bolivar notes than it is to buy actual fucking toilet paper in the U.S. right
now. Yeah. Interannual inflation was running at 2,665% as of January, according to the central bank. The once prosperous OPEC nation's economy has been in a tailspin for the past 7 years, spurred by a collapse in oil prices that led to a drop in imports and a gaping fiscal deficit.
That's not what caused
the
it.
Central bank to print more bolvairs.
That's not what fucking caused it.
Hold on. Weimar.
So that is a scene from Germany.
That's
the Weimar Republic.
Where it was actually cheaper to burn the currency than it was to buy firewood.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And like factory workers and whatnot would get paid at lunchtime so that their wives could go and buy food before the price changed at the end of the day.
Yeah, like people would have wheelbarrows full of currency and they'd go in a store and come back out and the currency would be sitting on the fucking sidewalk and the wheelbarrow would be gone.
All right,
for perspective, a single loaf of bread would cost 4.6 million marks during Germany's hyperinflation period.
Yeah. Okay. Quote, the new bills, quote, the new bills will complement and optimize the current denominations to meet the requirements of the national economy. In addition to the 1 mil bolvair banknote, the central bank said it will introduce a 200,000 and 500,000 bolvair banknote to circulate alongside the 10,000, 20,000, and 50,000 bolvair bills currently in circulation.
That's the meme here, right? The Venezuelan people, we're starving, we're literally eating zoo animals. Venezuelan government, here's a 1 million bolivar note worth 50 cents USD.
Well, there's and it's
all
not
their fucking problems.
What this whole thing reminds me of, and I hate to bring up another movie reference, but god damn it, freaking Euro Trip. When they're in,
I'm opening my own hotel.
Dime.
I have a nickel.
It's a nickel. I opened my own hotel. It's like, what the fuck?
I love that exchange rate. But I mean, the thing is this exists, right? Like Zimbabwe already. Zimbabwe, formerly Rhodesia, still Rhodesia as far as I'm concerned.
Forever.
Rhodesia taken over by an illegitimate power.
And Burma will always be Burma to me.
Single tear in the shape of a fowl.
Yeah. But you know, Zimbabwe has multi-million Zimbabwean dollar notes, and has for years. And like, if you go to certain countries in Africa and you look at the prices, they just have like M or K or whatever after a little bit, because it's just you can't make a sign big enough to show how much things are going to cost.
Well, you remember a couple of years ago, I want to say it was like 3 years ago, the point of sale machines in Venezuela, like the prices were so high that there's only so many spaces on a point of sale machine. So people, so they were having to like cut prices in third and then charge it 3 times, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise it wouldn't fit on the machine. So the Venezuelan government's just like, okay, so we're gonna knock three zeros off all the prices.
Yeah, we covered that, I think, on the podcast.
Yes, we did.
How does that help?
When your final total comes in to you in scientific notation, you might have a problem.
Yeah. You might have an inflation problem.
Yeah, remember Zimbabwe had the $1 trillion bill, and it bought like 3 eggs and half a loaf of bread.
And why does this keep running away like this? Because governments print million bolivar fucking bills.
I mean, and to put this in perspective, because a lot of this is academic exercise, to put this in perspective, if you say we're a Venezuelan citizen at the beginning of this, and you had a bunch of money, let's say you were rich, you had a bunch of money, and you stuffed it away in a mattress, the actual dollar, the bolivar notes, when you went to now, if you went to that same amount of cash that would buy maybe 1,000 acres and a bunch of land, a bunch of animals and a bunch of cars and all this other stuff, when you stuck it away and you went to grab it now that won't even buy you a week's worth of food.
Let's see. For comparison,
if you sold the mattress as it was stuffed with cash, it would be worth more.
What was
the money inside?
What was the inflation in the article? Like 26.65 or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, it was well over.
For comparison, in the United States, if you bought a dollar in 1921, it would cost $14.61 today. That's an inflation rate of 1,361.4%.
And it's fucking ridiculous.
And that's in the United States.
To put that also, in maybe a little bit more of a material perspective, my grandparents purchased a 130-acre farm in the 1940s outside in rural Sparta, Wisconsin, for $3,000.
Yeah. Like after World War II, there were guys coming home and buying like nice brownstones in New York City for like $8,000.
Right. If my uncle who now owns that property,
a college education for $2,500.
Yeah.
If my uncle were to now turn around and sell that property, it would be evaluated at well over $1.3 million.
Yeah. Well, my parents' house in 1992 or 93, they paid like $250,000 for it. That house is worth like $2 million now.
Well, yeah, and I mean it's and like that's my point is that you have to remember that the dollar amounts or the bolvair amounts or whatever the number is, it represents buying power. It represents this is how much something can buy this, that one of these can buy X amount. So therefore that's how much this is. There's a reason why $100 bills back in the 30s were very, very rare because you didn't really need them. There's actually a guy that comes into my store pretty regularly, and he had to have squirreled away way back in the 80s, just tons of actual cash, because he brings in $100 bills that are like the old $100 bills.
Right.
Yeah.
They're really, really old $100 bills.
Oh,
What those
found DP Cooper.
Yeah, right. I mean, for all I know, I did.
Don't tell anybody.
Dude, I don't know this guy. Like, I barely talk to him. Like, he comes in, he pays his bill, he leaves, but he gives me the old $100 bills. And and I was talking to Lindsay the other night, and I said, the sad thing is that if that's what he did, like if that's what actually happened, and he doesn't seem, I don't know, he seems a little weird, but if that's what he did, and he actually squirreled away thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in $100 bills way back in the late 80s, early 90s, what that money is capable of paying for now versus when he squirreled it away is so dramatically different. Just within 20 years, 25 years, 30 years.
Yeah, hundreds of the new 20s.
Probably 1/10 the value.
Yeah, so it's so different now. I'm like, he basically just set fire to 3/4 of it because he didn't put it anywhere where it was going to continue to build value to offset inflation. This is the horrible thing about fiat currency, especially when government is
central planning and central
planning.
Central planning.
When you have one entity that's in charge of this, they can manipulate this, and they are stealing value from you in a way that you cannot possibly prevent.
Yep. Oh, that's why things like Bitcoin are so beautiful.
Yep, Bitcoin, Dogecoin, gold,
precious
silver,
metals,
precious stones. Like everybody forgets about precious stones and how small and easy those are to move. Yeah, lead, copper. Yeah,
ammo is literally almost worth its weight in gold.
That's what I laughed about is because I came up on my Facebook memories where I had said at the very beginning of the pandemic, like, yeah, you guys should invest in precious metals, like lead, copper, brass, aluminum, steel, like
powdered magnesium.
Yeah, and I'm like, gosh, turns out that was awful prescient, wasn't it? Because if I had bought, a bunch of rounds at the beginning of this, think of how much money those would be worth to turn around and sell now.
God. That's what I told people. I was talked to a friend the other day, and I was like, there was some advertisement for like Brownells or something like that, where you get 30 round PMags for like $10.99 each or something like that. And I was like, take a stimulus check, go buy 200 of them. Yeah. Put them away.
Yeah.
They're going to be worth serious freaking money. I mean, I bought a box of, and I'm still
once they're black market, they're worth like way more than they were.
Oh yeah, I'm still kicking myself because I bought off of a guy, bought an entire retail box of PMags. Retail box. Like 3 years ago, I bought an entire retail box of PMags for $120 from him.
And he had like 3 other boxes.
Yeah, he had like 3 more boxes.
Standard capacity?
30 round. And I sold them off already at like $12 a pop, and now I am kicking myself so obscenely hard. I can't even tell you. Like, do you know how much those would be worth? You fucking idiot!
You know what the issue is, Andrew? Is you just have too much freedom.
Yeah.
And economist Paul Krugman has an answer for that.
I'm sure he does.
I have too many options, I think.
That's what Paul Krugman thinks you'd be happier with fewer choices.
That's like Bernie Sanders Jr. Didn't he fucking say something about deodorant or toothpaste?
Yeah.
This is a recent article, since we're not going to read the the op-ed from Krugman because my brain already hurts.
This is a Reason article.
It's an article on Reason. It's the Reason response to his article.
I would rather run my head full tilt into a brick wall than ever read something Krugman wrote.
Yeah.
Yeah, my head hurts from the first article already.
Yeah.
So, and there's another article later that doesn't help that. But this a recent article. It says Paul Krugman thinks you'd be happier with fewer choices. Nonsense. Writing in the New York Times, Nobel Prize-winning columnist Paul Krugman offers a unified theory of everything wrong with America. We're just too free to choose.
My gosh, just too much freedom. We have too.
Did anybody hear that eagle scream in the background?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't Pavlov do an experiment about this with the identical bowls of food? And...
Yeah. Krugman says this.
And I'm the one on edibles here.
Yeah. I'm just naturally this way. Krugman says this is the lesson to be learned from last month's energy crisis in Texas that left some of the state's residents, people who had freely chosen to sign up for variable rate offerings from their electric service providers, with sky-high bills when demand surged and the state's generated supply crashed.
Oh, please, Mr. Krugman, tell me what lesson I should learn from things. Let me suspend critical thinking like that first guy wanted, and I'll just let you do all my thinking for me.
God. You know, and the funny thing is like I follow Eric July on Twitter, and if you don't, you're missing out. But I follow him on Twitter, and I gotta say, he has already destroyed this so thoroughly, repeatedly.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Supply crashed. People can't be trusted to choose their electric service, he argues, because some will make ill-informed decisions that come with unexpected costs.
No. You're too dumb to know what's best for you. Let us decide. Don't fret, precious. I'm here.
From there, he expands this general thesis to a general principle, one that he says is to blame for everything from rising health insurance premiums to the subprime mortgage meltdown of a decade ago.
No. Oh my God. No.
Yes, Derica?
Oh, I have been through the whole subprime thing with people so many fucking times.
I missed something really good when my computer took a shit.
Okay, I'll go back. What was the last thing you heard?
You had just started talking about the Krugman article, the very first paragraph where it talks about him being Nobel Prize winning columnist.
Okay, so Nobel Prize winning. Krugman says
first off, how is this guy Nobel Prize winning? Seriously.
Collectivist
it doesn't fucking mean anything.
Backpatting.
Yeah.
So, all right. Krugman said this lesson is to be learned from last month's energy crisis in Texas that left some of its residents, people who had freely chosen to sign up for variable rate offerings from their electric service providers, with sky-high bills when demand surged as the state's generating supply crashed. People can't be trusted to choose their electric service, he argues, because some will make ill-informed decisions that come with unexpected costs. From there, he expands this thesis to a general principle, one that says is to blame for everything from rising health insurance premiums to the subprime mortgage meltdown of a decade ago.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, that's what I was reacting to when you came back, Christopher.
Hold on. Okay. I'm trying.
Wait. Rising health insurance premiums are a direct result of government intervention in the fucking 90s.
So it was the fucking housing bubble.
Andrew, you got the article open?
You're
no,
muted,
I actually,
Andrew.
what I had was this.
So the results of less fucking freedom is the reason you need less freedom.
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
I was just referencing the counting bodies like sheep to the rhythm of the war drum with the "Don't fret, precious, I'm here. Step away from the window and go back to sleep."
All right. I might have to mute Derica for this paragraph.
Oh Jesus.
Okay. Quote from Mr. Krugman. Quote: many of us are actually offered too many choices in ways that can do a lot of harm. Sometimes people offered too many choices will make bigger mistakes than they imagined possible.
Does this sound familiar? Does this sound like the first article we covered a bit here?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's grounds for denying someone the right to take out a risky mortgage or refusing to deregulate electricity markets, Krugman argues.
Wait, no.
Even though the outcome he's proposing would leave people with fewer options for obtaining home ownership and would likely pay higher prices for energy.
The government forced a fucking subprime housing bubble by making banks fucking make subprime loans. That's all I'm fucking saying about it.
So what I'm hearing here is, if we take away the options, people will have to pay more, thus making another crisis, which will require the government to get involved, and then people will have to pay more, which will make the government have to get involved.
Well, he is a Keynesian. He's a Keynesian economist.
Keynesian.
Keynesian, whatever you want to say. Yes.
Yeah.
Keynesian or whatever the fuck
Keynesian.
Okay.
Keynesian.
Somebody who follows Keynes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Who was a fucking idiot.
Indeed, to understand the consequences of limiting choice, just take a look at the Obamacare insurance marketplaces, which prohibit the purchase of cheap insurance plan that would otherwise be available. They are set up this way for exactly the reason that Krugman is outlining, because some people might make the wrong choice and end up with massive medical bills. The result is that the policy has higher premiums.
Instead of massive fucking tax bills.
Okay,
massive
hold on.
tax
Hold
bills
on.
Wait a second. Wait. So
he's
saying that
the real quick kicker is Krugman's contention that, quote, an excess of choice is taking a psychological toll on many Americans, even when they don't end up experiencing disaster.
Even when they... even if you make the right decision, you might have had a bad decision. So this is why
we don't want you to suffer indecision, is what he's saying.
Yeah, but
no,
that's what I'm saying though. Is
what he's saying is you might choose wrong.
Yeah, that's
why
I bring
even
up.
if you chose right, he said even if you chose right, it took a psychological toll having to make that choice.
Yeah,
that's what he fucking said.
See, and that's, again, this is why I bring up that song, Counting Bodies Like Sheep, because the next line is safe from truth, from choice, and other poison devils.
Yes.
That song is so superb. It was primarily written about George W. Bush, let's be honest, but it still applies to so many situations where, like, again, the opening is, don't fret, precious, I'm here, step away from the windows, go back to sleep, where you're safe from truth, from choice, and other poison devils. That is exactly what these people think. Is no,
articles
don't worry.
are like bookends for that. Fucking...
Yeah, they're like, no, don't worry, worry. We know.
Yeah, Krugman is pushing only a slightly more sophisticated version of Senator Bernie Sanders' complaints about the whole variety of deodorants available at the American supermarket. Or if you prefer a more academic take, he's peddling a warmed over version of the paradox of choice, in which psychologist Barry Schwartz argues that a proliferation of choices, quote, no longer liberates, but rather debilitates and, quote, might even be said to tyrannize.
In order to avoid tyranny,
right you have to even fucking worry about this in the first place? They have no fucking right. This isn't in their...
In their mind, the only way to avoid tyranny is to thus tyrannize you and force you to choose between the government-approved choices.
That's the same fucking story about everything, isn't it? That's their fucking story for every goddamn thing they do.
And I mean, that's the thing is, like, essentially this argument, if you break this down and you walk back in human history for this argument, right? This argument is saying that humanity would be better off where the only choices we had were, what we could kill today and what we could gather within, 500 yards of our cave. And that's it. And
that turd sandwich.
Yeah. And that is where humanity was the best off because, well, you only had these choices. You didn't have any others. So therefore you were just happier. And it is the mark of a unrepentant and irredeemable tyrant.
And
that
elitist.
you think, that you think
but that's a repeating
that,
yourself.
Yeah, but I mean, an irredeemable tyrant that you think, honestly, that people need fewer options in order to be happier. That you have convinced yourself. This is the same idea that people who ran plantations in the antebellum South had. This is the exact same thing. Oh, well, you don't want to give those people too much choice and too much freedom because they wouldn't know what to do with it, and they would make bad choices and they would squander it. So because of that, see, they're the to quote them, but then therefore really the Negroes are better
they're
off
not
with
as
us.
Smart as us. We we need to take
Mhm.
responsibility for their lives.
They're just monkey children and they don't understand. Therefore,
this is what this should tell you about how they see you.
Yeah,
they do
see
not
you as
see
inferior.
you as an autonomous human being. They don't. You're chattel to them.
Yeah, and
that's
nothing
it.
more. You will never be
and-
anything more than slave labor to them, as far as
And I
they.
absolutely love how they bring up the Obamacare fiasco with the inability to purchase a cheap, major medical type of health insurance plan.
Well, yeah, that was because the government mandated that all these insurances have to cover all these things.
Yeah, which drove the price up.
Which drove the price up.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember, man. I pre Obamacare. Because I basically
Why
never
does
go to
a
the
single
doctor.
guy need fucking health insurance that covers gynecological care?
Yeah, I basically never go into the doctor, right? I never go into the doctor. I've never cared about going into the doctor because if I die of a preventable disease, that's probably, going to happen.
Darwin.
So, yeah, like whatever. It's if I'm sick enough that I need to go into the doctor, I'll go into the doctor. But otherwise, chances are I'm just going to keep bebopping along and figure out treatments on my own. Like I can treat abscesses. I can treat skin issues. I can treat the majority of day-to-day stuff myself. Which means that my insurance should be next to nothing because I never use it, right? Like that's the way it used to be.
That's
I never
merch
used
t-shirt, by the way. Land the plane, Andrew.
Land the plane, Andrew. Yeah, but it'd just be a picture of me in like a cockpit going,
blah 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 blah.
Yeah, Terica's jumping out the side.
Yeah, she's just parachute. But, I mean, we need somebody to do like the cartoonish kind of stuff, like think Funko Pop style. Like,
yeah, right.
Yeah, all right.
But no, but I mean, my point is like that used to be a thing, right? Like if you didn't
Andrew
use
has too many topic choices right now.
But it's Derica yelling, land the plane, Andrew. Andrew's in the plane. Derica's on the ground with like a anti-aircraft gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love when I see those posts.
And it says land the plane.
Yeah, I love those posts on Facebook. They're like, if there's what is there a topic that you could talk for 3 hours with no preparation about? And I'm like, everything. But no,
let me tell you why strawberries are better than grapes.
Yeah, well, they are, but no,
objectively.
But but the point is, there was a time when it was based on on the market, right? Where if I wasn't somebody who ever used it, and I never went in, and everything else,
still talking.
Yeah, I'm
used to it.
I would have been done a while ago if you guys had let me be. Let this run its course just on its own. Yeah, I keep diverting the path here, but the point is,
I'm gonna. There's a place on Amazon where you can go and buy custom-made patches. I'm gonna get one made and send it to Jason so he can put it on his microphone, so he can just point to it that says "Land the plane, Andrew."
Well, we need to like get the music guy from like the Oscars when the speeches go too long, and the music just starts ramping up and
it keeps getting louder. Okay, we're done. No,
we roast because we love Andrew.
My point though is that there used to be a market thing where if I didn't use it, it was cheap. I could get it, I could pay minimal amounts, and I was fine. Obamacare comes along, says, no, you have to cover all these people who use it endlessly, who are hypochondriacs, who have cancer, who have HIV, all this other things. And therefore, because the risk has gone up dramatically, now all the prices went up, even for people who never fucking use it. And Krugman's argument is, but that's better because if you had too many choices, you might panic.
Yeah. You might feel uncomfortable
Like
having
what?
to make a choice.
It's just. I mean, this
All
is
right.
the equivalent of an argument of saying, like, well, no, all cars need to be $150,000 cars.
Go, chalk Andrew tires. The plane's landed. Chalk the tires.
Yep.
You know, you can mute
It's
him
at
at
the
any
gate.
time when
Oh
he
my
starts
God!
going
Open the
off.
door and let us out, for fuck's sake!
You guys are using the inflatable ramp at this point.
But it's not a ramp. It's just a dildo.
It's just a giant inflatable dick. And
Yeah.
right down it.
That vein's a
Oh.
bitch. So you're gonna bounce right off.
It was a
Okay.
party. It was a party plane.
We have painted one hell of a picture. For
We
this
only
shit.
have like 10 minutes left.
All right. Oh God, which one do we? Okay. Beverly Hills police hire armed private security guards following a robbery.
Yeah. So the cops rented cops.
Following
Oh.
a robbery and shooting at a local fancy restaurant, Beverly Hills police are hiring private armed security guards to increase law enforcement presence in the city.
No, not in the city, in the wealthy neighborhood where their fucking paychecks come from. They're not
Yes.
doing this
Yeah.
in fucking South Central LA to make shit fucking safer in the hood.
There's nobody in South Central that's currently going, hey, I'm so glad I have my private security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quote, first and foremost, safety is our top priority in Beverly Hills, and criminal activity of any kind will not be tolerated.
Oh
police
my
chief-
God. Beverly
police
Hills
chief
is
Beverly
like a
Hills is
hotbed.
loaded with criminals.
You know shit.
Police Chief Dominic Ravetti said in a statement on Saturday, quote, I want the world to know that Beverly Hills is a safe community.
No.
Well, I think the world kind of knows Beverly Hills is a safe community because it's a bunch of rich people, and 3/4 of
But
them
that doesn't mean they're not
probably-
criminals, because most
Yeah,
of them are.
That's,
Right.
that's what I was saying. Is and 3/4 of them are probably the heads of criminal organizations.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's safe. You ain't gonna fuck
Yeah.
with us people.
According to NBC, officers arrived at the restaurant Il Pastillo on Thursday in response to the reports of gunfire. One woman had been shot and was taken to the hospital. She was later released in stable condition. Quote, the female was at the location with two other people when three male suspects demanded property from another patron, according to Beverly Hills Police Department statement. Quote, one of the suspects shot the female and three suspects fled the location on foot. The suspects reportedly targeted the restaurant to steal one man's insanely expensive watch, a rose gold Richard Mille RM 11-03 flyback chronograph estimated to be worth $500,000.
Because they charge
have-
by the fucking syllable.
Quick-
Good God.
Quick interjection here. I actually heard about this on Twitter within minutes of it occurring. I actually saw it being tweeted, and the best part is that the person who tweeted it originally mentioned that it was like 3 black males who did it. And the response from someone was, I shit you not, don't be such a racist. Just say it was 3 male suspects. You don't need to mention their color.
Because a
That's how you
description usually doesn't. Descriptions don't help people.
Yeah,
get caught.
I shit you not, that happened on Twitter with regards to this. Within 10 minutes, like 6 different people complained that you shouldn't tweet something about black people committing crimes because they're
it's
black.
racist.
Because it's automatically racist.
I don't want to live on this fucking planet anymore. These people are too stupid to fucking
How
bear.
much does it cost to get on Elon Musk's, initial Mars colony?
Hell yeah, because remember, I'm opening the first brothel on Mars.
Right?
We're gonna make up like low G, zero G fucking sex
God, that
positions
is
you
a-
can't do.
That is an
setting up.
ugly watch. That is
Yeah,
an
it is.
ugly fucking
It is an
watch.
ugly watch.
You
More
know,
on that
Erica,
one.
there will probably be a stop at the moon for the low G stuff. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Well, I just hope if you're going to open a brothel on Mars, there's got to be at least one chick with 3 boobs. There had
Yeah.
better be. I
There's
was
surgery
told,
for that.
Yeah.
I was assured by film that there would be at least one chick with 3 boobs.
Total Recall
Mars.
made promises, okay?
Yeah.
And I
I get
definitely, I'm sorry, but Futurama made promises too. I definitely want the death penalty to be death by snoo snoo.
Right.
Yeah, it's well, it's actually additional rabbit trail, but real quick, I actually
Totally off the topic.
years ago, speaking of the chick with 3 boobs from Total Recall, years and years ago, that prop actually came up for sale on eBay, and I looked at it because I was curious how much
You
it
told
was.
us this once before.
And it said,
Andrew.
yeah, did I? I mean, it was probably a really long time ago, but it said great for men and women on the
What?
like, what dude is wearing the 3 boob prosthetic?
Well, I mean, for like a costume
2021,
party,
you're not allowed to ask
hilarious.
that.
I just feel like that's a little weird.
It would be hilarious for a costume party.
I mean, I suppose,
yeah.
but the fact that you're
Don't tempt me,
promoting it
Andrew. Don't tempt me.
Probably somebody who's chest feeding.
Yeah.
Ah!
That would be a pretty epic Halloween costume, though.
Yeah.
See, now I'm gonna have to do it. Now you're making me do it. I'm gonna have to.
That's gonna be
Yeah.
Andrew's Halloween costume
I'm gonna
next
be
year.
the hooker.
He's gonna be a 3-titted man.
Hell yeah. No, you have to have the ponytail coming off the top of your head and the little mini skirt and the vest that you open up.
You have to leave
Show
the beard,
everybody
though.
your 3 tits.
You have
Yeah,
to leave the beard.
my chest hair sticking out around.
Exactly. Exactly. Your hairy belly under your fucking
Oh
crop
yeah,
top.
that'll be sexy as.
U.S. House to vote on bills to expand gun background checks on Wednesday.
Fuck them.
As I'm at this point, like I posted that meme the other day of the.
They're aimed at quote, closing loopholes in the background check
Oh,
system.
for fuck's sake! There aren't any loopholes.
Fucking loophole.
When they say loophole, they mean people just doing a complete fucking end run around us. And that's law will never address that because people will just find new ways to step around you and keep going about their fucking business.
Not only that, but I mean, people are going to sell. We were talking about this a little bit in the pre-show where I was like, look, if say Jason lives in Kamifornistan and goes,
he does.
I know, but there's a guy down the road who decides to sell Jason a pistol without a background check. How in the fuck are they going to prove that he didn't buy that pistol before the stupid law went into effect that said you can't do that?
Well,
yeah, if you don't have a bill of sale or...
but they're going to just do the same thing they did with the NFA with machine guns, where they're going to say that all machine guns in civilian hands right now have to be registered. And if it's not currently registered, then you're a felon. And that's what they're going to do. Now, granted, in 68 with the GCA, they gave you an amnesty. But the fact that they had to give you an amnesty tells you, they straight up like made everybody felons who currently had a machine gun who didn't register.
Yeah.
So that's what they'll do. And
with the stroke of a pen, they can make you a fucking criminal. So being a law-abiding citizen,
the average person commits
8
8 felonies a day.
3.
Let's see. California instituted
Okay, well, I guess I'm not average then.
California instituted comprehensive background checks in 1991. So I was 11
today.
No, you didn't. You committed a community service.
Yes, I did.
Christopher, California instituted comprehensive background checks in 1991. So I was 11.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to. Yeah, you wouldn't have that argument. The thing is, though, is like this is at this point my attitude towards all of these new gun laws and everything else is why I posted that Carl from Aqua Teen Hunger Force with it don't matter. None of this matters. I'm at
the point
care.
like
I just don't care what you have to say about it.
I'm at the point where it's not a matter of I don't care. It's please pass it. I dare you.
Yeah.
Push the angry people even harder.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. It's
take that for what it's
you
worth.
Bring it.
Yep. Enforce it.
It's
and that's the thing too, is I want to see them try to enforce it.
Nuke me, bitch.
Yep.
I
I
lose
didn't
shit.
lose shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Send bachelors
No,
come heavily
fucking-
on. Yeah.
I mean that's where we're at. Like that's
Right.
the point that's been crossed here is
Exchange.
people just and they don't seem to understand. They don't seem to understand that people have reached that point with so much of this shit where we just don't care. There are so many, you've passed so many draconian laws, so much tyrannical bullshit that we have
We just
given
stopped
up even
listening to you.
caring. Yeah,
Yeah,
we
we
just
just
don't even
stopped
care
listening.
anymore.
Just on guns, there are 20,000 different gun laws between federal, local, and state.
There were
Coast to coast.
7,760,000 NICS checks performed in the first 2 months of the year.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So-
the,
Seven-
still, the
7
vast
million,
majority,
7,760,000.
and continuing from the trend from
That-
last year,
Mhm.
the majority of those are still first-time owners.
Yes.
Yeah. People are arming themselves at an fucking fantastic rate right
And
The,
now.
almost
the only
I
what
would
comes to
argue
mind every time I see
unprecedented in
these,
American
every
history.
time I see these numbers, the thing that comes to mind all the time is Nicolas Cage from Lord of War.
Well, no.
How do we
Yeah.
arm the
How do
under
we arm
11?
the rest of them?
Yeah. Defense Distributed down there in Texas, they have a tombstone outside in the grass. Gun control.
Yeah.
Because gun control is dead.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gun
it's
control's
dead.
dead.
There's- Well, and it's been dead for a long time. If you ever really want to look into it, stuff that's put out by Ares Armory Research Services in the UK is fantastic because they go really in depth on homemade firearms and like improvised weapons and like the cottage industries in various countries where firearms are outlawed. And one of the things that you notice as you read through it is like, so basically what you're telling me is that no country can possibly stop guns from proliferating at any rate that the people want them. There is
Yeah.
no way you can
I know.
stop.
Not even New Zealand, which is a fucking island, super isolated from other
Fucking
countries.
New Zealand. Fucking New Zealand. New Zealand, the prime minister said, turn in your guns. And then
Well,
the
30
head
people did.
the head of the local biker gang said, no.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah,
gonna keep
well,
ours.
Well, and keep in mind, New Zealand, I think it's New Zealand, is the actual location of where the biker gang, the real biker gang that inspired the TV show Sons of Anarchy, was. Like, they actually took over this town and, like, ran this town for years and years and stuff. That was actually there. So, like, when they go, stop me, they
Yeah,
really mean,
right.
like,
Yeah,
stop.
if you can listen to a haka and get chills, they're not turning in guns.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they're simply not going to. The people, the street gangs in the United States aren't about to go, oh wait, this is even more illegal now, and
I
then
better stop.
Yeah,
Well, yeah,
that's
and
not
that's the
going to
thing is
change.
all of these laws, all they do is target the people that are trying to follow the
Oh,
law.
Yeah.
They
Yeah,
don't
and
do
I've seen-
anything to
I've
stop.
seen an evolution
That-
over the last couple of years, like in my friends list and the people I interact with, where people who always prided themselves on being a law-abiding citizen, the more and more bullshit has been piled on, the less they give a shit about
Yes.
being a law-abiding citizen.
I have a really good friend.
My
one of
dad my
friends-
dad goes off about that, about being a law-abiding citizen. Just follow the law and you'll be fine. Dad, you fucking grew pot in the backyard in the 80s.
Yeah.
Well, I have a really good friend. When he and I first met, he was definitely a statist conservative, absolutely 110%.
And like a FUD on gun control and stuff.
Yeah, he's like, it's not really necessary. You don't really have to have those. And I'm like, dude, he prior to me getting kicked off.
Can I
Facebook-
just say that FUD is one of my favorite internet
Oh,
names
yeah.
that people have given to a type of person?
Oh yeah, I absolutely love the
FUD.
word FUD.
Be very, very quiet.
But he was hardcore a FUD. His first rifle that he ever bought was a Mosin from one of the local big box stores. But
It's motorized, wasn't it?
no, it wasn't. This was an
It
actual
wasn't even
out of,
sport. It was a literal
it
accident.
was an out of the crate.
Yeah,
Mosin.
we gotta go.
Land
guys.
the
Yeah.
plane. I got one more thing I gotta say real quick.
But over the last, say, 5 years or so, since he became a gun owner, he's like, I don't fucking care. What the fuck are they gonna do?
Yep.
All right. According to military.com, Tens of thousands of National Guard troops who deployed to Washington, D.C. ahead of the 2021 inauguration of the threat of violence are eligible for a brand new award in recognition of their service. The D.C. National Guard has credited a new, quote, presidential inauguration support ribbon in recognition of the deeply unusual security mission earlier this year.
Anything to make the weekend warriors feel good about themselves.
I am still
the
impressed.
mission. You mean the mission that nothing fucking happened on?
Yeah, that
Sleeping in a parking garage and they get a fucking ribbon.
Yeah.
Presidential inauguration support ribbon.
The best part about it
support
is
ribbons
that...
used to mean something, when you were like attached to it.
All right, hold on. In recognition of their service as part of the security mission at the U.S. Capitol and other facilities in Washington, D.C., before, during, and after the 59th annual presidential inauguration, the District of Columbia National Guard plans to present all soldiers and airmen who took part in the mission one or both of the following decorations: the District of Columbia National Guard Presidential Inauguration Support Ribbon, or the District of Columbia Emergency Service Ribbon. Special Forces Weapons Sergeant.
Boy, I wish I could earn something cool like that. That ribbon. That's man. But the thing is,
I couldn't read that very well. I read the first part of it, but
yeah, this is obnoxiously thick, by the way. It's in case anybody couldn't read it.
But that's what it looks like. And after a little UV fading, I'm just gonna leave that to your imagination.
It's super faggy.
It's and the thing is, like it's finally a ribbon.
Expect.
Well, it's a ribbon that finally makes the National Defense Ribbon like worth something, because there's something more meaningless than Firewatch. Like
in 2001, I got my National Defense Ribbon the day I fucking graduated boot camp. All right, it meant nothing.
It's an utterly meaningless ribbon. Everybody knows it is. That's why it's called the Firewatch ribbon, because oh boy, you stayed up overnight once. Hooray! Like that's what that means.
I mean, I'm in pretty much the same boat, Jericho, where they gave us that, 3 days after I got to tech school.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Because I graduated boot camp like 1 week after, not boot camp. That was A school. I graduated A school 1 week after 9/11. That's when I got my fucking.
I didn't even enlist until 2 years after 9/11, and you're still giving it out basically right after fucking boot camp.
Well, yeah, because you're serving in a time of war, so you get it. I mean, like I have the amount of ribbons that I have in my board that I'm like, no one fucking cares. No one fucking cares.
The US is never not at war.
Yeah, it's not. Like you basically can't serve in the United States military. You can't be in the U.S. military
without serving during a time of war.
Ever in its entire history without being there during a time of war. Like we've had very few years.
The presidential inauguration support ribbon.
That's so bad.
It's useless fucking award.
This is the fucking piss ribbon. Literally, that's the acronym. It's the piss ribbon.
Yeah, and that's
presidential inauguration support.
Pisser.
Yeah, the
Pisser.
Yeah. They're taking the piss. But the thing, like, remember a few years ago they tried to do that with the drone pilots, where they were going to give the drone pilots a special little award for being drone pilots or whatever, and everyone laughed so hard that they backtracked on it. But from the sounds of things, they're not actually going to backtrack on this. Like, they're actually going to give people
I posted on Twitter and tagged a few Marine friends.
Yeah.
and Andrew and a few Marine friends. They had a good laugh.
Oh, I was like, well, yeah, and I said, like, oh my God, they found something to make the Firewatch worth something now, and so many, like, it's already been retweeted a couple of times because everyone's like, oh my God, yes, exactly. It's a meaningless pile of garbage because it's
a meaningless ribbon for a meaningless organization at a meaningless event.
Yeah,
for a meaningless position in the government.
Yeah, you fucking did nothing. Absolutely not.
That's not true. They slept on the floor once.
Oh, that's hard.
They slept on the floor in a parking garage.
I laughed. I pointed out to Lindsay, I was like, hey, remember that picture of me sleeping in like on a floor in like a blown up warehouse with like all the broken glass around and all of this shit and like shell casings, and I'm like using an assault pack as a pillow and stuff. Like, all I can do when I hear them whine about, oh, you had to sleep in a parking garage, is like, boy, that sounds rough. That picture, like,
Yeah.
boy, that sounds real fucking rough, man.
All right.
Oh, I don't know how you survive. I fucking fuck those people. Fuck them so hard.
I gotta go, you
All
guys.
right, plugs. Give me your plugs.
Buy my book. If you've
My
listened to this fucking podcast, even the first couple minutes of it, buy my book.
It's the only thing that will really help you get past the stupidity of today's society.
Not
I'd
true.
really like to
You
believe that it's the only thing.
You could hit yourself with a 2x4 enough times
Yeah.
that
Well,
knocks the computer chip loose.
the problem is that you keep that repetitive motion, eventually you're going to get to that point, and because you're so used to hitting yourself with a 2x4, you're going to knock that fucker loose again.
Yeah.
True.
All right.
Yes.
Other plugs?
If you would like a luxurious, soft, wonderful, shiny beard like I have, you go to thebeardstruggle.com. Use code InkedAnarchist15. All run together. You get 15% off of your order. Their stuff smells amazing. You definitely want it. Also, now, if you're into luxury watches, you're into really cool sunglasses, you like luxury
Better
brands.
looking watches than the one in that article.
Yes, far better looking and far cheaper than the one in the article. Check out Valerio. This is going to be shopvalerio.com. If you use code InkedAnarchist25, you get 25% off of your order from them, and you support me at the same time. Also, don't forget to check out Poppin's Patches on Facebook. He's on Twitter. He's on Instagram. He's on Etsy. He's got his own website. Dave makes amazing patches. We are going to be doing a couple of giveaways very shortly for those patches. The first one I'm going to be giving away is Thrawn's Laboratory. If you are a fan of the Mandalorian and Dexter's Lab, so if you're a millennial who's a fan of the Mandalorian, you want this patch, man. It's awesome. It's super high quality.
Just send it to me, Andrew.
It's got Dexter, who is blue, and then you have Dee Dee actually as one of the Imperial officers. It is a fantastic patch.
Andrew's gonna end up looking like the people in Idiocracy that wear like sponsor logos all over their fucking clothes.
And I will take any sponsorship I can.
Hey, if people paid me to wear their clothes, I'd wear their clothes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll take any sponsorship I can get. So, but yeah, we're going to be doing a giveaway of that. So if you want that patch, if you think that's a cool idea, make sure that you like our page on Facebook, that you like the post that will contain the link to this specific episode, and that
it will be pinned at the top of the page.
Yep, and then comment something about wanting the patch, man, and tag your friends if they maybe want it, and then that way I will go through. By the time we do the next episode, well, maybe not the next episode if it's in a week. We'll do 2 weeks. 2 weeks, and then
if you're not able to be on Facebook to enter?
Tough shit.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Find Andrew on Instagram.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. Something, hit me up, and
Also owned by Facebook.
Well, or you know what, on Twitter, and look it up on YouTube. You know what? If you watch this episode on YouTube and you comment on YouTube that you want the patch, I will also enter you into the giveaway for that. And in a couple of weeks, I'll pick somebody at random, and you'll get a free patch. And I got more patches to give away too coming up, so it'll be sweet.
Yep. And next week is the 1 year anniversary of the lockdowns. So
Yeah.
should be
This is
fun.
gonna be fun.
It's the 1 year
Oh,
anniversary of
boy.
2 weeks to flatten the curve.
Yeah. Wow.
God,
That
that curve is like dead, right?
Yeah.
I think it's inverted now.
Inverted.
It's just become a flat plane.
It's just
at this point.
Flouchy riding it like a half pipe.
Do 900.
Filled with water. Mask idiots are falling in.
We could only get that lucky.
Yeah. All right.
Oh.
This has been episode 127. We'll catch you on the next one, I guess. Peace.
Peace.